Western corporate media is already demonizing the children of Kim Jong-un, calling his daughter the most dangerous 12-year-old on the planet. What the hell is wrong with you? Anti-North Korea propaganda gets more absurd every single day. Notice how the genocidal West is obsessed with dehumanizing non-Western children? It's the same way that they demonize Palestinian children as terrorists. Never forget how CNN and Western corporate media kept referring to Hein Rajab, the 6-year-old Palestinian girl who was murdered by the IDF as a woman. This shit is not an accident, bro. And why does the West talk about Kim Jong-un like he committed a genocide or something? What countries has he invaded? What countries has North Korea bombed? The United States killed over 2 million Koreans in a gross violation of their sovereignty, and then proceeded to sanction them to death for having the audacity of resisting the West. Meanwhile, Americans hate Kim Jong-un? This is exactly why I say the United States is the most propagandized country in the world. The great sin of Kim Jong-un and North Korea is creating a country that can defend itself and stands up to United States empire. They are not our enemy. Our enemy is the corrupt, genocidal ruling class in the West.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back to another week at Nick at Primetime. The streak continues. Hopefully you guys been enjoying this new show that's been going on for over 2 months now. I'm very proud of it. I view this as an intellectual pursuit and me performing my role in using my talents to help decolonize the mind of Americans, especially on issues like North Korea. It's wild. And I would love to see recent numbers. These are old numbers because, wildly enough, I actually did a lot of research trying to find like new numbers. They don't ask Americans these kind of questions this often. Every other story I've seen covering American sentiments on North Korea always go back to the same study and article. I would love to see where it's at right now because a lot of people realize that our government lies for a living. Every single thing they have said about their geopolitical enemies is outright fabrication. Everything that you heard about North Korea came from Radio Free Asia that was funded by USAID, and it's a blessing to humanity that their ass is shut down. There was these Western-funded propagandists masquerading as international journalists who would make up complete bullshit with no corroboration, and Americans will just believe it. They'd be like, hey, don't you know that Kim Jong-un had his uncle murdered by sharks with lasers on their head? And Americans be like, man, North Korea's fucking crazy. What the fuck did North Korea do to you? And I want to see new numbers because I swear, bro, I swear I'm starting to see my work pay off. I'm seeing the work of my Marxist Leninist brothers and sisters pay off because they was the ones who educated me on Korea years ago as a social democrat. Don't get me wrong, guys. I always was anti-establishment, anti-war. I like to make fun of myself, but even after Bernie lost, I voted for third party every single time. You couldn't catch me dead voting for Hillary Clinton. I still like to make fun of my old self, but I was never, ever a supporter of the empire. My analysis was wrong. Like, I had an analysis where I thought progressive Democrats was a way to check the empire, which is completely wrong. I'm going to give you guys another example when we get to Zohran later. But I'm starting to see people realize that their entire life they've been fed complete bullshit. But this is the last study we have where Americans hold a very negative view of North Korea amid nuclear tensions. There's only tensions because the West can't get over their L in Korea, where we murdered over 2 million Korean people, engaged in acts of torture, genocide, in order to help the South Korea create a puppet state of the West. And after we murdered their people, destroyed their society, created health issues because all the chemical weapons that we used on them, we then waged economic war to destroy their self-determination. Like, we even imposed penalties on countries who trade and have normalized relations with North Korea. This is why every single European country falls in line as well. So you have the majority of Western capital, you have the entirety of Western society that waged war against a society, waged war against a people after murdering millions of them. And then Americans go turn around like, what is wrong with North Korea? Why do North Korea hate us so much? The most propagandized people in the world. And I'm sharing this. You guys know I do go on a lot of rants about countries the United States tell us to hate. This was the big news today. And other than a few print media articles, the corporate media is largely silent on this. And you want to know what's funny? And this is anecdotal. This is anecdotal. But I was preparing for this segment. And I saw a Fox News segment on this story where they describe it. And it was crazy. It was unhinged. They was praising the idea of killing civilians. And I swear to fucking God, they posted this video on Fox News like 2 days ago. I was going to break it down and use it as a way to cover the story as well. It was removed. Like, I had it bookmarked. I have all my videos saved when I cover it. This video that they post on YouTube, no, I'm not fucking crazy. They took it down. That's anecdotal, I will admit. But I promise to God, this video I was going to show you guys today it's literally not up on YouTube no more. So Fox News was told, hey man, take this fucking video down. We can't talk about this damn story. It's one thing that you even did a segment on your show, but no one actually watches. Like, no one watches these corporate media channels other than my crazy ass. You know what I mean? But they were like, we're definitely not about to post this as a segment. I went to the CNN page. They're not talking about this. This is the kind of belligerent, insane actions that the United States engages against the North Korean people. When we send SEAL Team 6 and Marines who mass murdered Korean citizens, they murdered fishermen because they had a mission that was approved of by Donald Trump where they wanted to plant a bug on the dprk's leader, Kim Jong-un. And it was essentially a U.S.-sanctioned invasion of North Korea. So you guys see, if your country is constantly victim of a wild, crazy-ass, batshit rogue state, it's a pretty good idea to be militarized, to have a nuclear arsenal. But Americans hate North Korea. Oh my God, I'm offended at the idea of you having nuclear weapons. Like, go back to this poll. 65% are very concerned about North Korea having nuclear weapons. There's another article. Let me see if I can find it, where they said Americans find it offensive. I didn't have it saved, but I might find it because I found it while I was doing research. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. I'm always in the lab. I'm just see if I can find it real quick. Damn. I swear I typed this in and find it. The thing, bro, go ahead, type in American views on North Korea. They don't fucking talk about this. They don't ask Americans about this that much. Americans see negative consequences of U.S. troop withdrawal. Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at this. I just found this. Trying to find another story. Americans see negative consequences. Jesus fuck. What are you talking about? Of U.S. troop withdrawal from South Korea. So you guys realize that South Korea is an occupied country. It's a completely occupied fascist country where chaebols, people will correct my pronunciation, they dictate and control the society. Suicide rates are crazy. They have no workers' rights. And the capital in the country was set up by the West. I was doing a lot of research. I had my friends sharing some articles with me. Samsung, Hyundai, the entire South Korean economy was started and bankrolled by Western capitalists. I'm like, oh my God, I need to go down this rabbit hole. I'm a big rabbit hole enthusiast. I got to do more research on that, and I'm going to prepare a segment on that. Like, you guys realize, I said South Korea is a fake-ass country. Every anti-imperialist knows South Korea is a fake-ass country. It's a Cold War creation meant to counter communism. If you look at the maps, I might be able to find, I posted it 1,000 times. The North Korean Revolutionary Army had the capital of South Korea completely surrounded, and the Korean War was won. It was over. The peninsula was about to be unified under communism. Then the United States got involved and helped turn the tide, and didn't win the war, but it created the artificial split. When South Korea wasn't about to exist, they was getting their ass handed to them. And then you have people in South Korea who, just like the fascists in Venezuela, the Banderites in Ukraine, they was extreme fascists who engaged in torture, who sided with the West, destroying the sovereignty of their own people. So you, like I said 1,000 fucking times, you would never in a million years catch me supporting anyone supporting a CIA revolution. The same reason you saw me bash anyone like Zohran Mamdani's wife, for example, who supported the Syrian revolution that was CIA sponsored. So dumb Western leftists, they love supporting CIA revolutions while speaking down on legitimate worker-run revolutions in countries like came from China, like come from the dprk. Like we see with Venezuela. They hate Nicolas Maduro because Hugo Chavez liberated Venezuela from Western capital. So it's a common theme when you study history, when you study current events. It's a common theme of people fighting against capitalism, and that was the start of the global Cold War, the class war in retaliation to worker-led movements all around the world, was capitalists paying extreme fascists to betray their own people. And you got to realize that is the entirety of South Korea. South Koreans are descendants of the people who supported betraying their North Korean brothers and sisters by having the West come in and kill and torture their own people. You guys know, I went down a rabbit hole about Korean War years ago. You guys must read about this. History is way more fascinating than fiction. Like, I don't watch Breaking Bad, all these stupid ass shows. History is way more fascinating, guys. You guys realize that when the United States joined the war on the side of North Korea to defeat North Korea to defeat the Revolutionary Army that was whooping their ass, there was many people in the South, many South Koreans who despised communism, who despised many of the Koreans in the North, but actually rejected and they actually opposed the United States getting involved in their country. You want to know what happened to these people? They was murdered and imprisoned. So the remnants that you see in South Korea are the people who are descendants of class traders, are people who sided with the CIA over their own people. These are the people who create a country where you're not even allowed to say anything allowed to say right now. Because if you are in South Korea and you mention any of these facts, like if you bring up the fact that South Korea was about to lose before the United States get involved, they will send your ass in prison for 20 years. They do it all the time. Whenever a South Korean goes down a rabbit hole and gets access to information that he's not allowed, he realized that South Korea actually is the traitors and the bad guys in this situation. And then they'll post on social media like, hey guys, shouldn't we reunify with North Koreans? They are our own brothers and sisters. We have a long historical bond and relationship. They are family. They are friends. I think we should reunite with them and seek peace with North Korea. If you type that shit in fascist South Korea, they're sending your ass in prison. Look it up. Free speech don't exist in South Korea. You guys know that, right? But isn't it funny how they say the same thing about the North? The only thing they tell you about the North is, oh, you get they tightly control and regulate their social media, and they got a really good reason to, considering CIA infiltration, Western disinformation. But everything that the Western people tell you about North Korea is true of South Korea. And I'm not bullshitting you. So despite everything I'm telling you guys, the American people find a way to hate these people who has done nothing but stand up for anti-imperialist movements all over the world. North Korea never, ever recognized Israel as a state. They're not like these bullshit Arab countries, these Muslim Zionist sellouts who say we acknowledge Israel, we just don't want them in the West Bank. We accept the Palestinian genocide. We accept the consequences of the Nakba. We support the scourge of Jewish supremacy, and we believe that Israel should exist as a state. We believe that Hamas should disarm. Look at us. We are Arab states. That's the position of these sellout Arab leaders. Meanwhile, North Korea unequivocally stands with Palestinians, the right to armed resistance. They unapologetically support a one-state solution because they do not view Israel as a legitimate state. Now do you know why you've been lied to about North Korea your entire life? This story is crazy, man. Now I'll read a summary. This story is wild. Trump sent SEAL Team 6 into North Korea to plant a listening device. The operation went sideways within minutes when a fishing boat was unexpectedly at the landing site. SEAL Team 6 killed everyone on board, killed all the civilians, stumped the bodies, and fled while Congress was never told. And if you dive into the story, it's extremely disturbing because they went on the boat to double check that was piercing their lungs to make sure every single person was dead. This is the kind of stuff that people think the evil North Korean government is doing to Americans, is doing to people in their region. They're like, North Korea is a rogue criminal state. Kim Jong-un is a tyrant that must be put down. For what? What did they ever do to you? You guys have Americans. We have American soldiers going to North Korea committing unbelievable war crimes against their people, killing civilians. The same thing they accuse their enemies of doing. The same thing they accuse anyone in the United States empire wants you to hate. They call a rogue regime. But what's more rogue than this? How many times, because this just now came out through the series of whistleblowers and investigations, how many situations and secret missions that murdered North Koreans, that murdered Chinese people, that murdered many other people that we don't know about? You guys realize that the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, one of the worst atrocities where women and children was brutally murdered, tortured, and raped in Vietnam by U.S. soldiers who was retaliating against the Viet Cong by engaging in collective punishment? You know, the same kind of shit we see in Gaza. Like, if you ever want to lose your faith in humanity, look up what they did in the My Lai massacre, and then realize that many of these people came back home and was allowed to, after raping children, after torturing people to death, after burning people alive, they was welcomed back into normal society, and then Americans told them, thank you for your service. And you guys realize the only reason we know about the My Lai massacre, it came out years ago, and they only charged one person, the lead commander, and they only gave him 6 months. They only gave him 6 months. The lead guy, and every single soldier who raped and murdered children was let off. I'm talking about to the tunes of hundreds of innocent civilians wiped the fuck out, and we didn't know about it until like a decade later. So how many of these operations are going on and we don't know about it? Israel is bold enough to live stream their genocide, knowing that they're going to get away with it. It's easy for them to get away with it because all they got to do is point like, look, the Jews are sad. You don't look at that slaughtering people. Don't you know the Jews are sad? Because you said globalize the intifada? Trust me, we'll get to Mamdani soon. So Israel is murdering 100 Palestinians per day. You guys realize that, right? And you have the Israeli officials that's like, man, everyone pretended to be outraged over the genocide in the beginning. Now we normalize the slaughter of Palestinian people to the point where we can murder 100 Palestinians per day Meanwhile, the focus of the U.S. left is to protect Zionist feelings. You guys see where we're gonna get. We're gonna get to Mamdani here very soon. So as we are slaughtering 100 Palestinians a day, Zohran Mamdani is not tweeting about that. He's smiling, having lunch with Bernie Sanders, explaining why we got to spend resources at the NYPD to crack down on anti-Semitism. So as the U.S. left is worried about fighting anti-Semitism and protecting Jewish feelings, the IDF is bombing Gaza City. They're threatening another invasion of Gaza, which I guess is ongoing. That's probably the best way to say it. You have Israel that approved of annexing the West Bank. And while they're doing that, you have Zohran Mamdani like, we need to invest in fighting anti-Semitism. We can't say globalize the intifada because that would hurt the Jewish people's feelings. That's the West right now. In the middle of this. You guys, I'm fired. Dude, that shit irritating me, bro. You guys have no idea how much I actually held back on Zohran Mamdani. Like, bro, I was actually taking it very easy on this motherfucker. But now we're going to have to roast of Zohran Mamdani because I'm tired of people falling for this shit. He's like the most obvious, next AOC, next Bernie Sanders I have ever seen. We'll get to that here soon. Let's get back to Jewish feelings, which we know is the most important thing in the world. LA Holocaust Museum walks back never again statement, sparking outcry. So to understand where we at right now with this insane genocidal community where 99.2% of the synagogue support this genocide, where you have Jewish institutions who retaliate against our dear and beloved anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters. Our anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters are retaliated against, kicked out, sanctioned, and financially attacked by these psychopaths. These complete and utter psychopaths who are now sending a very strong message that Jews are the only people that you cannot genocide. So the Holocaust Museum in Los Angeles, and apparently all these Holocaust museums are Zionist think tanks, pro-genocide think tanks. But apparently there was a rogue worker, maybe a temp, social media operator, who posted this. Never again can only mean for Jews. And honestly, when I see this image, I am flabbergasted. I am shocked. And I'm like, bro, it's wild. And it's actually great to see because I want to see Jewish institutions speak out against this. My criticism is that they are not. So I thought this at first, like, damn, this is great to see. A Holocaust museum saying that we're not allowed to genocide Black and brown people. We're not allowed to genocide people like we're doing in the Sudan. And obviously this is a reference to victims of the Holocaust with the numbers, Palestinians. And then after this post, the Jewish community seethed and they was absolutely fucking furious. And you can only imagine the hate-filled, pro-genocide, racist emails that these people got hit with. And this is the same pressure that every single Jewish organization is faced with because Judaism and the leaders of Judaism decided to tie themselves to Zionism shoulder to shoulder, make it indistinguishable from each other. And that's a choice that people in the Jewish community made to do that. Where they say it's a core tenet of being an American Jew to support Zionism. That is what many of these synagogues say. I posted the receipts on my Twitter thread. But look at this. This is their apology for saying that there shouldn't be genocide The Holocaust Museum, the first survivor-funded and oldest Holocaust museum in the country, is committed to its core mission to educate, commemorate, and inspire. We recently posted an item on social media that was part of a pre-planned social media campaign intended to promote inclusivity and community that was easily open to misinterpretation by some to be a political statement reflecting the ongoing situation in the Middle East. That was not our intent. You guys thought we were saying that Israel doesn't have the right to genocide Palestinians? You guys thought for 1 second that we thought that Palestinians was human beings? These people are legitimately psychopaths. Do you guys know that 30 million Chinese people died in World War II? But bring that up is considered an anti-Semitic trope because you're downplaying the suffering of the Jewish people in World War II. I'm dead ass. That's what ADL said. Whenever you bring up, hey man, don't you know that Jews actually wasn't the biggest victims of World War II? It was actually the Chinese and the Russians, anti-Semite. So they don't care about any other victims of the Holocaust. They don't care about any victims of anyone anywhere. If you're not Jewish, they don't give a shit. But these are the people whose feelings that we're supposed to be protecting. Like, we understand that Zionism is a system of imperialism that is only possible because of the complicity of Christian Zionists who are the number one drivers of Zionism. We understand that. But that does not erase the fact that the Jewish community has a lot of responsibility to take for allowing this to happen, for allowing Zionism to hijack Judaism. Yes, we have Jewish Voice for Peace. Yes, we have rabbis against Zionism, where the fuck they call it. But you guys realize that's like 50 people. Like, you look at these damn groups, a very small percentage of the Jewish population versus 3,000 plus synagogues who unapologetically support Israel. And that's according to the lead anti-Zionist rabbi out of Chicago. He was asked directly. I was one of the few people who actually did the research on this. And according to him, and I'm using him as a source, there are only 30 anti-Zionist institutions in this country. That includes prayer groups. So I really understand. I really hope you don't misunderstand where I'm coming from here. We love our anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters. My criticism is that there's not nearly enough of them. And many anti-Zionist Jews tend to overstate and gaslight us about exactly how many there are. They tend to pretend that the Jewish community is torn on the issue of genocide and Zionism, and that is not true. Quick question. Out of 3,100 synagogues that's in the United States, how many of them printed letters demanding Israel end the genocide in Gaza? Don't worry, I'll wait. Show me the letters. Show me the mountains of condemnation. I found one letter that was signed by synagogues that said they shouldn't use starvation as a tool of war. But then when you scroll down, they said we actually do support Israel's war against Hamas and the Palestinian people. We just don't think we should use starvation as a tool of war. I think we should do knife genocide. Meanwhile, despite 100 Palestinians dying every single fucking day, despite the fact that Israel is about to seize the West Bank, despite the fact that Zionists institute a society where we are all victims of financial retaliation and censorship, whenever we call out the crimes of the genocidal community, which includes Christian Zionism, to be clear. I don't want you guys to misunderstand me. When I say I'm talking about the whole Zionist infrastructure. Meanwhile, the liberal Zionist movement, you want to know what they're worried about right now? They worry about protecting the feelings of these communities that going after labor unions. They're even eating themselves. They're even condemning each other for not saying the right things about Israel. So here we have Zohran Mamdani. Now, this is the main story. And if I didn't quit, this is my story I broke up, because if I didn't tweet this out, no one was talking about this. You gotta have no idea how much cringe I see from this motherfucker all the time. You guys have no idea. People like, man, Nick, why are you always going after Zohran Mamdani? Fam, you guys have no idea the kind of shit I've seen from him that I actually let go because I have other stuff I wanted to cover. I have complex interviews with journalists from all over the world. We analyze the issue in Palestine. We analyze and debunk Western media propaganda about China. We're going to be closely following Taiwan. We recently covered the BRICS summit recently. Ongoing coverage and debunking of Ukraine. So I have a lot of coverage. So guys, I see this motherfucker say cringe ass shit all the time. And then I turn around and I see the Bernie Sanders left present him as the new Messiah. I'm like, bro, you guys cannot be fucking serious. Are we really back in 2015 again? This guy is the most obvious AOC I have ever seen in my life. In every single interview I have seen of him, he said some bullshit, some liberal Zionist bullshit that makes me cringe. So I'm finally gonna fucking do it. You guys think I've been hard on him before? This shit right here is exactly why I don't fuck with the progressive left. Because here's Zohran Mamdani. Instead of taking this time to educate people on why we should support the Palestinian community in phrases like globalize the intifada, he goes on MSNBC and agrees with this Negro sellout that we should center the Jewish community in their feelings while condemning the Palestinian resistance. So let's get into it.
Through the years, said and been involved in things that I've later said was misunderstood, and some things that I regretted. Mrs. Coretta Scott King told me, you got to watch language, got to watch what you say. Now, let's talk.
The audacity of this Negro. You guys won't find many people I hate more than Al Sharpton, this FBI informant, neoliberal sellout. And you guys will see here very shortly. And if you watch the show, I know you guys don't, but I've seen quite a few segments with this guy. He is the worst news host of all time. Like, he speaks worse than I do. Can't fucking read. He's getting paid a fat salary as a reward, as a way, as a gift from the establishment by selling out. He supports neoliberals. He supports genocide Joe Biden. I don't have time to do a complete roast of this guy because we have done it many times before. This video, trust me, it's not only about Zohran. This guy gonna catch a lot of strays here. So the idea that this motherfucker took the words of Coretta Scott King and then bastardized it to support the anti-Semitism hoax and supporting the crackdown of free speech of people who oppose genocide. Do you guys understand the madness that he just did there? Revoking the civil rights as a way to promote free speech crackdowns on anti-genocide protesters because he's playing. I said some things I didn't mean before that hurt white people's feelings, and we all know that the king said that we gotta protect the feelings of white people, which is not fucking true. I'm gonna let him continue, but he goes on this spiel where he's like, well, it's very important for us to control the feelings of white people. Malcolm X will highly disagree with you. White people hated MLK because he told them the uncomfortable truth. Read letter from a Birmingham jail. So these neoliberal civil rights leaders, these people sell out the community, become informants, and then the establishment murders everyone who doesn't sell out. They murder the MLKs, they murder the Malcolm X's, they murder the Fred Hamptons, and then people like Al Sharpton is allowed to climb and rise in our society because he sold out our movement and embraced neoliberalism. Anyway, let me continue. I don't get me started. It's not supposed to be an Al Sharpton road, but I fucking hate this guy. You're going to see the road that he plays here very soon.
Years, said and been involved in things that I've later said was misunderstood, and some things that I regretted. Mrs. Coretta Scott King told me, you got to watch language, got to watch what you say. Now, let's talk about anti-Semitism. New York City is the home of the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. The mayor must build a relationship, whoever the mayor becomes, trust in all communities of the city. The term globalize the intifada is become
globalize the enchiladas. Globalize the enchiladas. What? So you can tell this motherfucker doesn't really care about this at all. He doesn't even know the term. He's like, some people say globalize the enchiladas. Globalize the intifadas. Guys, I'm allowed to make fun of this motherfucker because you guys know I grew up with speech impediment. I barely can talk now. You guys make fun of me for making mistakes. So I'm going to do the same to him. I think I'm allowed to make fun of people for this because I make a lot of mistakes too. But this guy is paid a big contract and doesn't even know what he's supposed to be upset about. So what did this say? This say that this motherfucker is given a script. He was demanded to ask this question because he doesn't even know the fucking term.
Whoever the mayor becomes, trust in all communities of the city. The term globalize the intifada has become a flashpoint.
Globalize the intifada. Globalize the intifada. You guys know I can't talk. I can make fun of Al Sharpton the same way fat people are allowed to talk about each other. Because you guys know I fuck up all the time too. You guys make fun of me. I think it's funny. I don't mind making fun of myself. So as someone who can't talk, I love to make fun of these people too. Globalize the enchiladas. All right, so let me get back to it. I enjoy that part way too much.
The term globalize the intifada has become a flashpoint for Jewish New Yorkers who say they're concerned about how your views on the Israeli-Gaza conflict will influence how you govern the city. You said on Meet the Press in July, that's not language you would use, but you don't want to police the speech of others. But we both know words matter. The Department of Defense means something.
For one, you guys realize that we almost a minute in already, and he still haven't asked his question. You know you're already asking bullshit if it takes you fucking 10 years to ask this question, because now you got to explain to the audience, like, oh, I know I'm about to ask for some bullshit, so let me do this long-ass 1-minute explanation. What kind of fucking question is this?
Want to police the speech of others, but we both know words matter. The Department of Defense means something different than the Department of War. I've experienced this throughout my own civil rights career, and I've had to correct myself to deal with what people receive may not be what I meant. And words have consequences, and sometimes we need to examine our...
Almost 70 seconds in, he still haven't allowed Zohran Mamdani to talk. So you understand the mental gymnastics this motherfucker is going through? He got to rationalize to himself, like, man, why am I tone policing? And what he said is complete and utter bullshit. And you can tell every single story he makes up about the civil rights era is just convenient for whatever narrative he's spinning. Yeah, I was about to say the civil rights career. All right. Let's get to Zohran. This guy is unbelievable. But let's get to Zohran. Let's continue. Globalize the enchilada. I almost want to hear that again. That shit's so fucking hilarious.
To deal with what people receive may not be what I meant. And words have consequences, and sometimes we need to examine our own positions to build unity. Has your personal views on the phrase of global intifada changed?
So we globalized into... Someone said globalize the COMMUNISM, and that shit was funny. So it took this man 1 minute and 15 seconds when if he could have just asked that last question to him. But you guys know why he did that? Because he's trying to prime his audience to understand why the fuck we are asking this question. Because you remember, according to polls, Democrat voters, even the MSNBC watching liberals, are more supportive of the Palestinians now. Like they're not supporting this tone policing, and that's the Democratic base. So Al Sharpton has to go through so much fucking mental gymnastics and long ass explanations to talk about why we should globalize the human matatas. According to him, I'll play that part one more time. Jesus Christ, this guy's a fucking mess. You can tell he is reading a script that is written by a Zionist.
Has your personal views on the phrase of global intifada changed since you've been running for mayor? Do you understand those that see it in a more threatening way than saying, I'm just not going to police other people's language?
Yes, they have. And you know, when we won the primary election, I said on that stage that I know that millions of New Yorkers care deeply about what happens in Israel and Palestine, and I'm one of those New Yorkers. And I commit to reaching even further to understand disagreement, to wrestle with the complexities of those differing viewpoints, because what this city deserves is a mayor that looks not only to represent the close to 600,000 New Yorkers that voted for me, but rather the 8.5 million people that call this city home. And in the meetings that I have had since that moment, I've met with Jewish elected officials, with rabbis, with community leaders, and there was one rabbi that spoke to me about how that phrase, for her, brought back memories of bus bombings in Haifa, of restaurant attacks in Jerusalem.
So as 1,000, so as 100 Palestinians are being murdered every single day, what Zohran Mamdani is doing is going on MSNBC and explaining how some genocidal rabbi fuck convinced him why he should condemn the Palestinian resistance. Isn't it supposed to be your job to educate? As a socialist leader, your job is to educate people on why we're supposed to support the Palestinian resistance uncritically. He is not educating, he is waffling. And I'm going to ask you guys one question. When have you ever seen a politician that is running for an election that starts to hedge and sit to the right in order to win? And then they take power and then they do better than we expect. When has that ever happened? When have we ever seen a politician run to the right and then betray what he used to say? Because you guys feel like that Zohran Mamdani used to say that it is not our position to tone police people in the middle of a genocide, which is a good answer. That's all you have to say here. But you guys see how Obama got to him? You guys see how Bernie Sanders got to him? Bernie Sanders told him that he needed to be careful about how he talks about Israel. So here he is.
With Jewish elected officials, with rabbis, with community leaders. And there was one rabbi that spoke to me about how that phrase, for her, brought back memories of bus bombings in Haifa, of restaurant attacks in Jerusalem. And I knew that from what she was sharing with me that she had a fear, as she said, that could come home to New York City. And so in having that conversation with her, I knew that the gap between the intent that I have heard some New Yorkers share with the use of that language of calling for the end of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land was disconnected from the impact it was having in that same conversation I was having with that rabbi. And so I have said, after having that conversation, that this is language I would discourage.
Bro is already winning the election. He is already winning the Jewish vote. But here he is, just for the love of the game, throwing the Palestinian resistance and Palestinian movement under the bus. So this is what you're supposed to do, Zohran Mamdani. You're supposed to, as a quote-unquote socialist leader, explain why the madness over globalized intifada is complete nonsense. You guys know what globalized intifada means? Intifada just means uprising. And what Zionists do, they take advantage of racist white Americans and they hear any word that's Arabic or sound Muslim-y. And they're like, oh, what do you mean you're gonna engage in jihad? Jihad just means struggle. In the same way white people, they're like, oh my God, they're saying Allahu Akbar. That means glory to God. It means glory to God. The same with intifada. Intifada means struggle, it means uprising and revolution. So globalized intifada is a connecting chant to remind everyone that we are all Palestinians. We are all victims of the Zionist occupation. We are financially retaliated against. There are Palestinians whose lives are ruined. There are people in the UK that are being arrested for having Palestine action shirts. We are obviously not all facing the same heat as the people in Gaza. Obviously. But we are all under occupation. We are all victims of the Zionist regime. We all share in the same struggle because what they're doing against the Palestinian people, they will inherently bring out home. And we are already seeing it. That's why the police train with the idea. That's why they're engaging in the same tactics against our people that they use against the Palestinians. So that's what it means when people say globalize the intifada. And if you're condemning that, you are not on the left. You are not in support of the Palestinian movement. When you say globalize the intifada, it's a reminder that we are all Palestinians. That we need to globalize the resistance against imperialism. So Israel is a colonial, apartheid, genocidal state. So when we say globalize the intifada, that means take the struggle against international imperialism and apartheid and apply it to all society. You know why they say that? It's the same reason Palestinians in Gaza stood in solidarity with George Floyd in the Black community, because I talked to countless Palestinians that say our struggle is your struggle. My struggle is your struggle. So when of course, I say globalized intifada because I want the international struggle against imperialism to be realized by leftist forces. Zohran Mamdani doesn't, because he's a liberal Zionist who supports the existence of Israel. A liberal Zionist is still a Zionist. So when you say when people call for the freedom of Israeli occupation of Palestinian land, I understand why that made people uncomfortable. That is him throwing the resistance and the movement under the bus, uncritically. People be like, I don't know what you mean by that. He just said that. He just said that. And what I just explained to you guys is what it actually means to globalize the intifada. That is what you're supposed to be doing as a leftist leader. It's your job as a leftist leader to help deprogram the minds of Americans, because that's why the left was supposed to be in support of you in the first place. I thought the reason why people were decided over Zohran Mamdani was because we finally have someone who's going to be in elected office, even though he may not play a big role, or maybe he don't have the power to impact the Israeli regime, because we know that a mayor in New York has very little power to actually impact the Israeli occupation. But the idea was, hey, at least we will have someone in higher elected office that will tell the truth about these issues. And that is not what he's doing. This motherfucker, he never tweets about Gaza. He never talks about Palestine anymore. It's a common trend. When it progresses, they're like, man, I always center Palestine, bro. Palestine is always in my heart, homie. And then the second they get elected, come on, man. I had a conversation with a Jewish rabbi. He told me how uncomfortable he was. And this is not just me being nitpicky.
Especially after.
I explained before how Zohran Mamdani, how he handles the NYPD will be the number one sign on whether he's going to be a sellout or not once he's elected. I said that in our first segment. I bro, I don't want to hear anything about. He's not going to reduce the price of goods. That's not going to fucking happen. He has no strategy to confront capitalism. He has no strategy to confront the capitalist forces in order to decrease prices. That's why it's important to see how he can handle the NYPD, because all this shit he's talking about is going to be useless promises. I promise you guys. This is why it's problematic, because Zohran Mamdani calling himself a socialist, and he's going to fail the working class inevitably. And now people in New York and people across the country will see his failure as an indictment of socialism. Do you guys see why it's very important for us to call out these fake socialists and communists? You guys know what Zohran just said in this same interview, because he said this many times before. He said he met with landlords. He said it in this same interview. I met with landlords to hear from their concerns, and I want to let them know that I'm not going to be a threat. He literally, watch a recent Zohran interview. Pick any interview. I promise he had the same damn thing he says. It like the people who support Zohran, God bless their heart, they focus on the dumbass neoliberals who hate him. And trust me, there is a lot of hatred to have of Hakeem Jeffrey, Chuck Schumer for not endorsing them. There's a lot of hatred to have of the corporate media for how they train him in a progressive movement as a whole. I understand that those analyses to be had. But I noticed, and you guys should know this as well, they don't actually cover what Zohran says often. Because I will listen to this guy speak, and I hear him say cringe ass shit all the time, like the clip I'm about to show you. And he constantly goes to this spiel about how he's going to have a relationship with the landlords. He's going to have a relationship with the capitalist business class. This is not socialism. Zohran Mamdani is straight up talking about, hey man, we're going to become friends with the capitalists and ask them to treat us nicer. This is not a strategy that's going to lead to decreased prices. The fact that he's already hedging on very important issues shows he's going to cave once he's in power. These are signs that are very clear and obvious if you're paying attention to these things. Now back to the NYPD. As mayor of New York, he's not going to have the power to decrease prices. Anything that he would do, anything they could do to possibly challenge the price of goods. It would take a giant working class movement that he's not mobilizing. This is not a movement building activity. This is an activity to get a Democrat elected. What is the strategy to rein in the landlords? Because they talk about this rent freeze. They're not going to do this damn rent free. Quote me now, question me later. It's not going to happen. They don't have a coherent strategy. Now Zohran Mamdani is talking about he's going to fund the NYPD more in order to fight anti-Semitism? So he ran on defunding the police, and now in the clip, he explains how he's actually going to use the funding of the NYPD to crack down on the pesky anti-Semitic leftists.
I know that Jewish New Yorkers, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful.
Bro, once again, hundreds of Palestinians are being murdered every single day. But if you pay attention to Zohran, if you watch his interviews, like I haven't had a lot of time to do segments on every single one. Every single interview, this motherfucker brings up how Jewish people are feeling unsafe. Oh my God, there's an anti-Semitism hoax. He does this every fucking interview, guys. Go watch the next Zohran Mamdani interview. His campaign is a coalition of liberal Zionists. We're going to get to that here very soon. That is centered around Jewish feelings. And now he's going to explain how this is going to directly impact the pro-Palestinian movement as people in the pro-Palestinian movement support this guy who wants to fund the NYPD more to crack down on their ass.
Especially after the horrors, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful, especially after the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And they're fearful also in conversations that I have heard myself about life in this city. And I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago.
Look, the same story. Look, this video is actually from like 3 weeks ago when he was on the Jen Soccer show. Every fucking interview he tells you guys about this Jewish rabbi he met. Every fucking time.
I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago who told me about the fact that he now locks the door that he used to close, that he used to keep open for years because of a fear of who may come in. I spoke to a friend of mine after October 7th who told me about going to his synagogue for Shabbat services. And
I have to show you guys the tweet this motherfucker sent after October 7th. And now oh my God, I understand you guys are mourning October 7th. The same October 7th bullshit. He's already cooked. And many people on the left have no idea because the only thing they're focused on is Andrew Cuomo, which is understandable. I'm not mad at that. A lot of the progressive channels who support Zohran Mamdani, they're focused on how the media is being unfair to him. They're focusing on the Republican response to them, which is fair, but they're not showing their audience the kind of stuff that Zohran Mamdani says all the time that makes me want to fucking vomit. Every single time this motherfucker gives an interview, he violates the Thioa bet. You guys remember the Thioa bet? We talk about this on the show, something that Palestinian organizers hold dear to their heart. We're going to get to that for in a second. Hold to that thought. Because I'm going to explain how Zohran Mamdani, with both these interview answers you see on Jen Psaki's show and on Al Sharpton, he directly violates the Thioa bet. But I'll get to that after I finish this clip. Let's get back to it.
a friend of mine after October 7th who told
I'm going to let it finish uninterrupted because I'll play it all the way through this time so you have full context in what he said.
And I know that Jewish New Yorkers, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful, especially after the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And they're fearful also in conversations that I have heard myself about life in this city. And I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago who told me about the fact that he now locks the door that he used to close, that he used to keep open for years because of a fear of who may come in. I spoke to a friend of mine after October 7th who told me about going to his synagogue for Shabbat services and hearing the door open behind him and turning around with a tremor going up his back, not knowing who was walking in and what they wished for them. And ultimately, it's through the conversations I've had with Jewish New Yorkers that I have developed a proposal for the Department of of community safety that would include an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs. Because
no, fucking no. Are you guys out of your goddamn mind? DSA, are you out of your goddamn mind? How many times have I explained I am a black man? The worst thing that I see is when I see these black liberals, we need a black hate crime bill. No, the fuck we don't. Do you know these fucking hate crime bills are used to fund the police state more and used to crack down on the communities they are said to protect? Like, for you to be a leftist and not even understand this, it's crazy. It's crazy that you don't understand this. So once again, let's go back to my original point. If you guys think Zohran Mamdani is going to decrease the cost of goods, that's not happening. But what Zohran Mamdani can do as mayor of New York, and this is why it's actually important to have leftist mayors in office, they are control of the police. So if you're a mayor, you're a leftist mayor, the most important thing that we can do is rein in the police state to support defunding the police, which is the moderate position. Because the NYPD is funded 3 times more than the North Korean military budget. It is funded more than the Iranian military budget. It is an argument that leftists should unapologetically make. Meanwhile, Zohran Mamdani has gone every single interview that Crystal Ball won't cover, Kyle Kalinske won't cover. None of the progressive channels who support Zohran Mamdani will show you the interviews. Every interview he fucking had where he said, I don't support defund the police no more. I support funding the NYPD more. He says it's every interview, guys. And then what he's going to do with the funding? He said we're going to use this to fight hate crimes against anti-Semitism. This is Zionism. This is supposed to be your progressive Palestinian champion? You understand why I've been gaslit to death? And I actually been holding back on this psychopath? Because I could have done this I could have done this segment on literally every interview that Zohran Mamdani has done for the last 4 weeks or so. It was so obvious. Bernie Sanders told Zohran Mamdani, hey man, you need to chill out about how you talk about Israel. And then you had Barack Obama that gave him the call. Because before, his position was we should not be tone policing the Palestinian people. There's a video where he explains that all our politics should be rooted in the Palestinian people. He went from that to saying, oh, we got to spend more money on the NYPD in order to crack down on anti-Semitism. And remember, he ran and he gaslighted the working class by telling people that he was supportive of the defund the police movement. Does it sound familiar? This is the same thing that all the progressives do. AOC had a Palestinian platform, a liberation of Palestinian platform, and then she got elected and immediately took it off her website. Maxwell Frost was literally part of the Palestinian movement. He's a congressman out of Florida. We covered him a long time ago. Maxwell Frost is one of the most unhinged neocons in office, but he had close ties to the Palestinian movement. But the second that he won his primary, he threw the Palestinian movement under the bus. Actually, I actually feel like I should show you guys the source on that. I covered. There was Palestinian organizations that literally condemned Maxwell Frost because he gave him all these promises. He promised that he would support BDS. He promised that he would support Palestinian resistance. But then the second he took office, he became a Zionist. We see it over and over and over again. Meanwhile, we have people who are literally crazy, who are literally maniacs, who are literally insane. Because what's the cheesy definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again. Doing the same thing over and over again. We are seeing someone waffle in real time. We are seeing someone walk back their positions in real time. And then people are like, oh, we just got to give them a chance. Because that worked for us. Name one time you was critical of a politician and then that politician proved you wrong. Once again, don't worry, I'll wait. If Zohran Mamdani proves me wrong, I will change my analysis. But from a working class perspective, We need to let these motherfuckers prove us wrong every fucking step of the way. We should be putting pressure on them. The fact that there have been no pressure put on Zohran Mamdani is exactly why he's been able to renege on all his important issues, because he had DSA cheerleaders who treat him like a fucking celebrity. So now he's saying we can't globalize enchiladas no more. Now he's talking about funding the NYPD more to crack down on anti-Semitism. Good job, DSA dipshits. Your inability to hold him accountable is what directly led to his right-wing shift. And trust me, Zoya's love, Zoya's life, I know this. We know this. The thing is, I will change my analysis, motherfuckers. I promise you. I will change my analysis the second that a politician proved me wrong. I'm like, what? Because I took in a lot of heat from the DSA people. It's cool because they already hate me anyway. I have taken so much heat from the Zohran Mamdani people. Like, oh my God, Nick, why you keep criticizing him? Even though they have no idea how much I held back. The same people who are upset at me for my criticism of Zohran Mamdani are the same people who hated me because I criticized John Fetterman. The same people who was upset because I criticized Marianne Williamson. You want to know who are the biggest Zohran Mamdani supporters in the world? The Vanguard. You know, TMZ Guard, they love Zohran Mamdani. They're the same people who hated me and put out diss tracks against me because I warned them about John Fetterman. You guys see how the people who was wrong over and over and over and over and over again will continue to be wrong because they are riding the wave in the grift of the progressive movement. Zoya, do you know how easy it will be for us to gain a few thousand subscribers riding the wave of this sellout fuck? If we was pretending that we were Zohran Mamdani supporters, well, you know how many Zohran Mamdani supporters who would subscribe to our channel by if we just simply bullshitted you? Oh man, we're gonna have a revolution. All we gotta do is support Zohran Mamdani. He's gonna lower grocery prices. He's gonna hold Israelis accountable. He is literally telling you in every goddamn interview, he is about to fund the NYPD to crack down on anti-Semitism.
Hearing the door open behind him and turning around with a tremor going up his back, not knowing who was walking in and what they wished for them. And ultimately, it's through the conversations I've had with Jewish New Yorkers that I have developed a proposal for the Department of Community Safety that would include an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs. Because ultimately, we cannot simply say that anti-Semitism has no home in this city or no place in this country. We have to do more than talk about it. We have to tackle it. And that's what we will do through this funding and through this commitment. We will root out bigotry across the 5 boroughs.
It is not enough to talk about anti-Semitism. We have to take action. You guys realize that I feel like I've been gaslighted by people who try to tell me that this motherfucker is anything other than another AOC. There are people like, no, don't you know that he's not condemning the Palestinian resistance? He's not throwing the Palestinian movement under the bus. These are the principles that I uphold. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, a few years ago, we had a Palestinian roundtable. We actually had a few on RBN. Because unlike Zohran Mamdani, who is centering Jewish feelings, what we do at RBN, we invite Palestinians on. And they explain what the fuck is going on. Instead, you guys see who we center at RBN? You know, and they're the one who like, hey man, it's very important for us to uphold the Taliban. Every single real Palestinian leftist organizer who are serious in the game, who we just had on, are strong supporters of the Taliban, and breaking the Taliban is it's a devastating sin in the Palestinian community. And these are the commandments that Palestinian organizations use to gauge on who they trust. This is not liberal Palestinian resistance. These are the people who are serious about liberating Palestine. When we say free Palestine, this is what it means. And this is the tenets that I uphold and we uphold at RBN, the Taliban. Reject colonialism in all its manifestations. I told you guys, I'm like Al Sharpton too. You reject colonialism. You don't accept And you don't like, oh, I believe that we need to protect the feelings of Israelis who feel unsafe. I support the existence of Israel and the right for Israel to defend itself, like Marianne Williamson and many others. Resistance of the Zionist movement is a duty. So you got to realize the first two, every single progressive Democrat already fails. Every single progressive Democrat, every single liberal Zionist utterly fails just the first two bullet points of this list. And I know this because if you talk to Palestinian activists, and we have them on the show, they mention how this is extremely important to them, and they are frustrated because liberal Zionists are hijacking our movement by breaking the Tawabet. And that is exactly what Zohran Mamdani is doing. The Tawabet, How to Center Palestinian Resistance, a guide of keeping our goals in line. So everyone should check this out. This is what it actually means to stand for Palestine, to be an anti-Zionist. And you won't see a single person in the progressive Democrat movement who will support any of these things who are actually anti-Zionist. What Zohran Mamdani is doing is building a liberal Zionist movement. Bernie Sanders is a victim of Palestinian protests. You guys realize that Palestinian protests and groups target Bernie Sanders all the time because of his disgusting genocide denial, because he was still refusing to call for a ceasefire in the beginning of the war and legitimize Israeli aggression, the guy who doesn't support BDS, the guy who signed on Lindsey Graham resolution declaring that Israel has the right to bomb their neighbors, going after Hezbollah, invading Syria. This is what Bernie Sanders, he signed on to that letter in the resolution. You guys see the job of Zohran Mamdani is to rehabilitate genocidal Democrats? So as the Palestinian movement is protesting Bernie Sanders for his genocide denial, Zohran Mamdani is rehabilitating them instead. Look at this. They still be doing this shit. In the year 2025, they still talking about political revolution. Just three friends going to lunch talking about political revolution. Bro, the Bernie Sanders movement started 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you guys have been engaging in political revolution and accomplished nothing for the working class in 10 years. Medicare for all is dead. Workers are struggling and crushed by the student loan crisis. No federal increase of the minimum wage. You guys have completely failed. Not only have you failed to accomplish anything for the working class, you failed to prevent your party from committing genocide. So in an era where Bernie Sanders has been exposed as a genocide denialist, as AOC is as unpopular as Nancy Pelosi, you want to know who's here to rehabilitate him and them? Zohran Mamdani. Because Zohran Mamdani does not need Bernie and AOC. There's all these Zohran cucks who keep making excuses like, don't you know he's running a campaign? Zohran Mamdani is dominating the election, and everyone who likes AOC is already supporting Zohran in New York. Every single fucking one. Zohran Mamdani absolutely does not need Bernie Sanders and AOC to win this race that he's already dominating. It took Bernie Sanders fucking forever to endorse this guy. I remember Zohran people complaining about that. He doesn't need them. There's an overlap of these DSA shit libs. The only Americans in this country that supports AOC and Bernie Sanders are people in the DSA. So how did Zohran Mamdani benefit from posing with AOC, one of the most unpopular politicians in the world, in the country, I have to say? Because AOC and Bernie Sanders is not helping Zohran Mamdani. It's the job of Zohran Mamdani to help Bernie Sanders and AOC. I repeat, this is what a lot of people are missing. People are like, oh, he has to do this. He needs to help Bernie and AOC. No, he doesn't. What world do you live in? He is dominating. He's a gifted politician. He is fantastic at running elections. He's a great, well-trained politician who absolutely don't need this. But because you know what Bernie Sanders has been facing? He's been facing this. protests for the Palestinian movement. We covered all of these. So Zohran Mamdani is here to defend the Palestinian movement and present Bernie Sanders and AOC as the good people that they are not.
Get a little bit queasy with what genocide. You got to be careful about the word.
It is a genocide.
What's your definition of genocide?
Bernie, you have funded Zionism yourself. You have funded the Israeli settler state. Here you are pretending you aren't. It is disgusting. Liar, liar, genocide denier. Liar, liar, genocide denier. It's disgusting. It is reprehensible. You are a child killer.
So you guys see as Bernie Sanders is being protested by the on-the-ground activists. Zohran Mamdani is really rehabilitating him. Bernie Sanders harshly condemns Hamas and Palestinian resistance, while at the same time not even supporting BDS. So he condemns Hamas, he condemns Palestinian resistance, but he also condemns peaceful protest of the Israeli people. You guys realize that BDS is an example of the peaceful movement that liberal Zionists wag their finger at and say that Palestinian supporters must support. So here Bernie Sanders saying, while I do not support the BDS movement, I ended there because nothing else he says after that matters. Nothing after he says after that matters. While I do not support the BDS movement. So Bernie Sanders, he don't support armed resistance, don't support peaceful protests. He doesn't support any motherfucking thing. You can't protest them on a boat. You can't protest them on the float. You can't protest them on the bar. You can't protest them from afar. You can't protest them here. You can't protest them there. You can't protest them anywhere. That's the position of liberal Zionists. You cannot resist the Israeli state in any way that actually effective. So I remember back in the day, it used to be considered uncouth to surround yourself with genocide deniers and fascists. Because Bernie Sanders is now trying to rehabilitate his image by putting these bullshit statements out that doesn't match his votes. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sad that all the Palestinians are being killed. You are the one under Joe Biden who was against ceasefires, and he wants every single member of Hamas dead. Bernie Sanders want every single member of Hamas murdered. Don't forget that 90% of Hamas are orphans. They're engaging in their legal right of self-defense. Meanwhile, here is Bernie Sanders, and this was during the Biden administration, because it's easy to call out the crimes of Israel when Donald Trump is in charge. Meanwhile, when Bernie Sanders was campaigning with Biden and supporting Genocide Joe, this is the kind of stuff he was saying.
I want to just clarify one thing, Senator, if I might. You support a humanitarian pause in Gaza. Some of your fellow progressives say that there should be a full-on ceasefire, which would require an agreement on both sides to halt the fighting. Do you support a ceasefire? And if not, why not?
Well, I don't know how you can have a ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, with an organization like Hamas, which is dedicated to turmoil and chaos and destroying the state of Israel. And I think what the Arab countries in the region understand, that Hamas has got to go.
This was Bernie Sanders helping Joe Biden manufacture consent for genocide. Bernie Sanders should be shunned and ostracized by any left movement. Bernie Sanders' support for genocide, his condemnation of the BDS movement, his endorsement of genocide Joe Biden, every single legitimate left movement, he should be a pariah. And Bernie Sanders has become a pariah among any true leftist organization. Now, here comes Zohran Mamdani. Because I swear to God, I even saw a few DSA people bash Bernie Sanders. And remember, DSA, they condemned AOC for her votes on Israel. But here's Zohran Mamdani, former DSA, here to undermine them Because DSA actually was critical of both these people. I don't know if you guys know this. They was too late and too weak, but they I'm trying to think of the term. I can't think of the proper term, but they condemned AOC for votes for genocide, right? I can't think of the proper term, but they essentially condemned them and AOC, and AOC like, fuck y'all, I don't need y'all no more. Go fuck yourself, essentially. So now Zohran Mamdani comes and undercuts even the criticism that DSA had of AOC, the criticism that we have of Bernie Sanders, and now here he is bringing them back into the fold. Yes, Sindra. I think that's the term I'm thinking of. Yes, Sindra. Sorry, I'm already almost 90 minutes in. My brain is almost already fried. So thank you guys. He having a political revolution with this guy who doesn't even support BDS. So let's get to the other person that Zohran Mamdani is rehabilitating. Because what did I tell you guys a week after Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary? I told you guys that he is the best fucking thing that ever happened to the Democratic Party in the modern era. As everyone pretended that he was horrible for the Democratic establishment, I was like, guys, this is a dream come true for Democrats. Because as many young progressive Democrats was becoming disillusioned with the party, as the party was bleeding young support after the support of their genocide, as the genocide Joe and all their failed promises, young people were leaving the Democratic Party, and every single person who was advocating for joining the Democratic Party had been completely discredited. So the majority report, the Vanguard, TYT, Crystal, Kyle, the entirety of the Bernie media industrial complex needed this win more than fucking anything. You guys had no idea. They were so invested in this race for good reason. Because can you imagine the state of the progressive Democrat strategy if Zohran lost too? They lost Cori Bush. They lost Jamal Bowman. They lost 2 times under Bernie Sanders. They were getting their ass wiped out by AIPAC. Bro, you have no idea how important you guys have no idea how important it was for the progressive Democrat movement, for the Democratic Party as a whole, for Zohran Mamdani to win in order to bring young people back into the Democratic Party, which is why he won. Which is why he won. You guys realize that, right? They allow him to win so he can do shit like this. So he can bring young people right back into the Democratic Party. Because you want to know the person who he's rehabilitating? Going to AOC here. This picture alone, this picture right here alone, should be enough to ostracize AOC from the left. Here's AOC holding the hand of genocide grandpa, rehabilitating Jim Crow Joe. In the same way she lied about how Kamala Harris and Joe Biden is relentlessly pursuing a ceasefire. She voted for the Iron Dome. She is a sellout of the highest order, but Zohran Mamdani doesn't think so, guys. Zohran Mamdani, he loves AOC. You know why? Because he wants to be the next AOC. Every single person who is pretending, especially the ones running for office, every single motherfucker pretending that AOC is a good guy who's on their side, they do that because they're a professional managerial class scum who wants to be the next AOC. You guys realize that, right? So if you're a grifter and a careerist, you're not going to tell the truth about AOC. You're going to rub up to AOC and pretend she's something that she's not. Because you don't want people to catch on to her grip, because people might catch on to you afterwards. AOC is utterly disgusting. Like, remember, AOC came out and was lying about Jill Stein and immediately smeared Jill Stein because she saw the rising anti-genocide third-party movement and hate and despised us. This is the person that Mamdani wants us to accept in our movement now. So one thing I thought that the left was supporting Zohran Mamdani because things were going to be different, but that's obviously not the case. Obviously, we're going to have the working class spend a extreme amount of money to help rehabilitate the genocidal movement. And he had this fight for the Oligarchy Tour. And you guys know Bernie Sanders has a book now talking about fighting the oligarchy. Because of course he does. Of course he does. That was the entire point, as I explained to you guys. So as Bernie Sanders is denying genocide, as he supported Joe Biden and supported a genocidal party, as he signed resolutions stating that Israel has the right to defend itself and has the right to bomb their neighbors to go after Hezbollah and Ansar Allah. This is the kind of shit that Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders are doing at their Trump derangement syndrome rallies.
Happy birthday to you. I need your help with my voice. Happy birthday, Bernie Sanders. Happy birthday. And now the senator from the great state of Vermont, Bernie Sanders.
Fucking kill me now. Just fucking kill me now. This is the cringe that is passing as the left movement. And to fairness and credit to Bernie, you can tell that Bernie Sanders was uncomfortable during that entire fucking thing. How is this shit not nauseating to people? We are seeing the same shit happen over and over and over again. We're seeing the working class get conned by the professional managerial class grifters who want you to view politicians as your friends and as celebrities to worship. Unbelievable.
Happy birthday to you. I need your help with my voice.
Jesus Christ.
Happy birthday, Bernie Sanders. Happy birthday. And now the singer from the great state of Vermont, Bernie.
You guys think this is going to be the movement designed to take on the capitalist class? Bernie Sanders, who extended his fight for the Oligarchy Tour, flew on private jets, by the way, which is extremely volatile and dangerous for our environment. You want to know why he did that? Bernie Sanders polluting the environment, flying around in private jets. And I explained before, I'm trying to find the exact number. It's like, I try to remember, damn it, I didn't remember the stat. It's like, for every hour flying in a private jet, you burn millions of times more carbon emissions than someone who take commercial flights. So, something crazy like that, right? So you can't claim you support fighting climate change while flying jets. For what? Is he doing this fighting the Oligarchy Tour for something urgent, like to stop genocide? No. This fighting the Oligarchy Tour was all about raising money for Democrats. And Bernie used to brag about it during the fucking Oligarchy Tour. He's like, oh my God, we raised so much money for Democrat candidates. Which is why I'm speaking now against these motherfuckers. And no one else in the progressive left is willing to. Everyone else is just riding the wave. We're going to get thousands of subscribers because we want Bernie Sanders and Zohran supporters to subscribe to the party. So he went on this damn tour to raise money for Democrats, poison the environment, just to write a fucking book. And this is exactly what I said. This is exactly when I first covered the fight for the Oligarchy Tour. I told you guys that he did this tour just to fucking write this book. Holy fuck. I didn't even imagine how on point I was. I'm trying to fact check myself. I can't find. I did a hotspot video talking about this. Maybe I'll just show you guys on a hotspot video. But here's just one fact here. Private jets emitted more climate pollution than all flights departing Heath Row airports in 2023. Like, people had no idea, like, the like, just how harmful. Yeah, private jets are 5 to 14 times more polluting than per passenger in commercial flights. It's 50 times more polluting than trains. You know, I really wish I could find that stat I did a hotspot over. Oh, this is it. This is it. I actually found it. This is it. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Open image, a new tab. Look, here it is. So for you to be this much of a fucking hypocrite, bro. Because a lot of people are like, oh, come on, man. Why are you attacking Bernie Sanders for flying in a private jet? Do you guys have any idea how much worse flying a private jet is than U.S. domestic flights? Per hour in a private jet, you are burning 2 million metric tons. Because I remember this is in millions. 2 million per person for every hour you use a private jet. So Bernie Sanders had him and AOC taking private jets, burning thousands of times more than you flying normally. Like, if you was to fly domestically, you're only responsible for 0.04 million metric tons of CO2. Compare that to Bernie just polluting the fuck out of the environment. Directly responsible for 2 million metric tons of CO2. Fighting the oligarchy. And the leftists, they have no criticism of this. In fact, they will get mad at you for even mentioning it. They're like, oh, you think socialists shouldn't fly in private jets? Yes! Because not only did he fly in private jets to raise money for Democrats, he then turned around and released a book in order to profit off of it, because that was always was about. I said here, I told people Bernie was doing his fighting for the Oligarchy Tour in order to sell a book. You are a parody of yourself. You can't even make this shit up. He about to buy another house, isn't he? All right, we're almost 90 minutes in, so let me show you. This will be the last thing I'll show you guys. For people wondering, like, Nick, why are you going so hard against Bernie and Zohran Mamdani? Do you guys understand? We wasted hundreds of millions of dollars, $400 million on the Bernie campaign. This political revolution that everyone's talking about. Remember, this person said, 3 friends going to lunch talking about political revolution. This political revolution has been going on for 10 years and cost the working class countless amount of money. Can you imagine what mutual aid organizations could be doing with $400 million, with the massive amount of money that's been sent to Zohran Mamdani? Zohran Mamdani is getting so much fucking money from DSA people, from working class people, that he's begging people to not donate to him no more because they don't need it to finish this election.
Well, folks, you've done it again. We can't take any more of your money. Truly, you need to stop. Thanks.
Props to Zohran, I guess, for saying that. So instead of donating to Rome, instead of donating to RBN Mutual Aid, instead of donating to Gazans, instead of donating to Palestinian funds, to struggling Palestinian families, for the resistance, you know how many fucking things you can donate to? Instead of donating to these causes that will help a left movement, we have DSA nerds and class traders who are donating to a guy who comes from a rich family who has rich friends. This guy is taking money from Koch brother affiliates. He's taking, I'm sorry, I said Palantir. I said Koch. He's taking money from Palantir associates. He has millionaire donors. He has super PACs. Meanwhile, the working class is spending money on this careerist. Now do you guys understand why the best I can do is to stop my community from engaging in this ridiculous behavior? The only thing you are responsible for is your community, the people you're around. Am I going to change the world? No. Am I even trying to influence the way New Yorkers vote? No, I don't give a shit. Vote for whoever you want. I'm not that attached to electoral politics. The only thing that I can do, and goes to you as well, the only thing that you can do is to affect the people in your community, to educate the people in my community. In my community, people are not donating to politicians. We are not wasting our funds propping out sellouts. In my community, in RBN community, we're donating to Gaza funds. We're donating to strike funds for labor. We're not donating to motherfuckers who obviously don't need it. So here's Zohran Mamdani telling DSA nerds and all these people to stop fucking donating to him and wasting money.
Then again, we can't take any more of your money. Truly, you need to stop. Thanks to you, we've raised the maximum amount of money we can spend to this race, $8 million. And you've done it with more than 2 months to go until the election. So that means we got it in the bag, right? Wrong. You think Bill actually...
we don't need to hear the rest of this shit. No one cares. But you got to see why. This is the only reason why I speak out aggressively against these people. Because I do not want to see the working class waste resources and waste their time once again engaging in strategies that won't accomplish anything for the working class. Once again, Bernie political revolution started 10 years ago, and we got nothing accomplished out of the $400 million that we burnt, other than Bernie Sanders selling his phone and email list to the DNC. I still get emails to this day. Never ever was a part of any campaign other than Bernie. Never did anything political like that. I still get email from the DNC to this day because Bernie Sanders sold us out. So in order to prevent us from wasting this kind of money before, I explained many times before, my vision in my theory of change is that we need a third-party socialist, anti-Zionist movement that is rooted in mutual aid. We need to build mutual aid societies in order to meet the people's material conditions while building our own outside government. We need to build our own outside government that is independent from these capitalist structures. This is the vision of socialism and revolution. The fact that Zohran and DSA people don't do this is why they're not socialists. We need to be building our own parties. We need to build our own self-governance system, which requires mutual aid societies, which requires an insane amount of working class resources. And if you think this is unrealistic, can you imagine what we could have built with the $400 million that we wasted on the Bernie campaign? We could have had our mutual aid societies. We could have had our food drive systems where people don't go hungry. We could have rent. We can have funds to help people meet rent. We can have massive bail funds, strike funds. Like the people who say, well, what else should we do? The people who buy into political nihilism, they have zero imagination, no understanding of theory, no understanding of history, no understanding how social movements are created. Because imagine with this $400 hypothetical million that we have, where we create our own outside government, we have mutual aid societies, we have food drives, we have breakfast programs. You know how many normies will support us? Seeing what we are building. You know how I know this? Because it happens every single time I hold a mutual aid event. We just had one in Chicago where ordinary people was volunteering to help. Ordinary people was asking questions like, hey, man, what is this about? Then we explain like, hey, man, capitalism abandons us. We need to stick together. We need to build a community. We need to build projects with each other. Bro, I gave the same speech and Rome heard it. Everyone who see me in mutual aid, I give the same speech to people every fucking time. I'm doing this because we got to protect ourselves. We need to defend ourselves. Instead of relying on politicians, we need to support each other while building our own parties. And I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating. And if you organize yourself, you know, every single time I make this pitch to people, when they ask me why we're doing mutual aid, I have a 100%, and I'm not bullshitting you, 100% conversion rate. Every single person I talk to, like, man, I love this shit. How can I get involved? Every time. But RBN, we have zero influence on the United States left. Very little. You know who's been running the United States left? You know who's been the mouthpiece of the United States left? You want to know who's been the think tank of the United States left? People like Hassan Piker. People like Cenk Uygur and Annika Sperin, who tell you to donate to politicians, who don't even talk about mutual aid. No one even discussed mutual aid before RBN hit the scene. Not a single fucking person. And now these same motherfuckers turn around and tell you that we gotta support Zohran Mamdani because we had no other options. These same people like Crystal Ball say we can't support third parties because we need to grow up. These people are consistently ops to strategies that will benefit left movements. Then people turn around and act confused on why we go after them, why I go after them. I didn't force Zohran Mamdani to say he's going to spend money on anti-Semitism. I didn't force Zohran Mamdani to condemn the Palestinian movement and Palestinian resistance. I didn't force these people to waste our time, our money, and our resources just to vote for Nancy Pelosi, refuse to force the vote, refuse to support the rally for Medicare for All, who refuse to support RBN or left movements, who does anything. I'm giving a speech because I am supportive of Kshama Sawant, who's running against a genocidal Democrat as an independent. I am supportive of Jose Vega running against Rishi Torres. So people are like, Nick, you don't support nobody. Yes, I do. Look at all the people that we prop up. Look at all the organizations that we prop up. Look at all the partnerships that we have built. Look at the movements that we have supported. I was on the board for, we had Leonard Peltier. I was on the board for Leonard Peltier. We had a close friendship and relationship with Chairman O'Malley. We have a close friendship and relationship with the Fred Hampton family. I am working in coordination with Worker Strikeback and Kshama Sawant. I am working with ACP. I want to build a movement outside of this corrupt capitalist duopoly. I am tired of the DSA left having no spine, being dumbasses with no coherent theory of change. So you goddamn right, I view these people as adversarial. We have to expose the grift of Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani because there are obstacles to prevent this uprising anti-Zionist movement that people are ready for. All right, I gotta stop. You guys know I got a hard stop. I'll keep going. I'm over 90 minutes in. Hopefully you guys enjoy the stream. Once again, announcement, I will be in Seattle. Once again, you guys remember the last speech I gave. I got another banger speech in support of Kshama Sawant because she's running as an independent. And peep this. And I'll bring this up to everyone. And people are like, Nick, why you don't support anybody? Nick, why you pass everyone? Meanwhile, I'm supporting Jill Stein. I'm supporting Kshama Sawant. I support third-party movements. You want to know who's not going to support Kshama Sawant? Zohran Mamdani. Kshama Sawant is running against a fascist Zionist who wants to censor pro-Palestinian protests, but none of the people who support Zohran Mamdani, none of the people in DSA are going out and support Kshama Sawant. And ask yourself why. You know why? Because she's not running as a Democrat. Kshama Sawant is not running as a Democrat, so the Zohran Mamdani movement have been completely quiet about her. They have been quiet about her because she said mean things about AOC. They're quiet about her because she said mean things about Bernie Sanders. She said mean things about the DSA. So because Kshama Sawant hurt their feelings, the entirety of the DSA and Zohran Mamdani movement is standing on the sidelines and de facto supporting Adam Smith against Kshama Sawant. Why? Because she hurt their feelings. That's how deeply unserious the DSA left. That's how deeply unserious Zohran Mamdani is. They're not building a movement of anti-Zionists to confront the capitalist class. They are building a movement of Democrats who support other Democrats. They want you to support them, but will they ever support an RBN mutual aid drive? Will they ever support you during your mutual aid event that you're holding in your town? Will they ever support our challenges against the capitalist structure? They do not. They demand us to support their career while never showing up for us. They didn't support our general strikes. They never showed up one iota for any RBN mutual aid event. So despite the fact that Zohran Mamdani, DSA, Bernie Sanders, Hassan Piker, all these progressive fucks never supporting RBN and our mutual aid, they then turn around and demand that we support Zohran Mamdani. You guys see how this is a one-way abusive relationship that many people have with the professional managerial class, where they don't support anything you do. They just tell you to shut the fuck up and fall in line. And it's crazy that people take this and they are accepting of this. And this is one of the reasons why RBN was founded in the first place. So, all right, I need to shut the fuck up. Let's read the super chat. Big shout out to Blueser. I really support you. You really make the putting all the labor into this worth it, because this is a lot of labor. Not over 90 minutes rant here. So you guys have no idea. After I do these streams, I'll be exhausted. Like, you guys have no idea the mental toll doing these shows all by yourself is. I have no producers, no writers. I don't have no one writing my segments for me. Like, you guys would be surprised how many people do that. You know, like I know like people have producers. They have people who set up slides for you guys. Feel like I do every motherfucking thing on this show by myself. Like Zoya helped me with formatting, editing the show, booking guests. But other than me and Zoya, this is just us. So that's why whenever you guys support my labor, it actually does really mean a lot, because it takes more work than you probably think. Now I'm exhausted. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna get off the show. I'm probably gonna eat a small dinner. I'm probably gonna pass. I'm tired, man. So thank you guys for supporting my labor. I appreciate it. Big shout out to Blueser. Big W in the chat for this guy. The South Korean elite are not descendants of freedom fighters. They are descendants of people who collaborated with Japanese imperialists. Yeah, you guys realize I just scratched the surface. I didn't even touch on that. And I need to start bringing that up more, how they collaborated with the Japanese imperialists, who also was there was the one in this time, they were essentially agents of U.S. imperialism who was playing an offensive role in East Asia for the capitalist class. So thank you for super chat, Patrick. Thank everyone who watched today. I'm a hard stop, because if I don't hard stop, I won't shut up. Thank everyone who watched. Have a great day. I have a great show on Friday. It's gonna fucking piss off the DSA shitlist. We have Haas from the ACP. He's gonna come on, because as you guys know, I want to talk and I want to organize with anyone who's tanky. Like, he's tanky as fuck. He's anti-capitalist as fuck, anti-zionist as fuck, and he's not a Democrat. So that's no reason. Why the fuck shouldn't I talk to Haas? That's gonna be a banger show. So that's Friday. I'm gonna see what I can put together on Wednesday, but Wednesday may be a solo show as well. But next week, unfortunately, the streak has to end. We've been on this streak for like 10 weeks. I need to look at the date of the first Nick at primetime. But unfortunately, the streak ends next week because I'm going out of town with some family. We had some things we planned a long time ago. And I'm also gonna meet I'm gonna be in Chicago. I want to meet some homies. I know a lot of homies in Chicago. I know a lot of RBN friends in Chicago. So I'm gonna be in Chicago again. God damn, I'm always in Chicago. So I'm gonna be in Chicago next week with some family. Also, there's I'm gonna try to see if I can train Muay Thai with that martial art guy we had on a few weeks ago. He's in Chicago. I told you guys I want to train with him. So I'm going to see if I can train with him, do some Muay Thai with our martial art homie. Also going to meet some friends. So I'm taking next week off, essentially. Another break just to recharge. We will be back the week after that. So we have 2 more shows until then, but there will be a hiatus next week because I got some family stuff to do. You know what I mean? I can't always be in the lab. I'm constantly in the lab, but sometimes I need to take a break. So that'll be next week. We still have a lot of content until then. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Have a good night, y'all.